What is up, guys? It is your host, Daniel. This is editor Daniel. Um, Obviously, you can tell I'm not in the typical setup. That is because I am currently working on editing the third video in this series. And after doing three of these interviews and booking two more, I have realized that the podcast has completely transformed into a new niche. Um, so I am changing the name of the podcast. So in the first three episodes, you are going to hear me refer to the podcast as Lazy Day Business. That will no longer be the title. Now the title is going to be the Christian CEO Podcast, and we are going to pivot from just interviewing young entrepreneurs to specifically interviewing young, successful Christian entrepreneurs. Yeah, so without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy these episodes, and thank you so much for tuning in. All right. All right, welcome back to the Lazy Day Business Podcast. Today we have a guest, Jacob Reeves. And so just to preface the conversation, Jacob, yeah, what's your full name, age, and occupation?
Yeah, my name's Jacob Reeves. I'm 25 and I'm a digital marketer.
Very cool. Okay, you will be the, I believe, third marketer on the show.
Nice.
And so, yeah, we can get started with the first question, which is, what was your first entrepreneur venture and was it a success?
Yeah, my first venture was reselling products on eBay.
Okay.
So I was probably 16 or 17 in high school, and there was a store called Bargain Hunt in my town, and basically it was they had all these products that were like returns from Amazon or whatever, and the longer they were in the store, each week they got discounted. And nobody went to the store in my town apparently because I'd go in there and there'd be all this super cheap stuff. Um, and I would get my eBay app and scan the barcode, and then it would show you like how many had sold on eBay in the past however long. And I would kind of do the math on like, okay, if I buy this for $5 and sell it for 20, could I make any money? And so I started doing that, and it was working from what I had in my hometown. And Bargain Hunt is a chain, which I think they've gone bankrupt now because that business model.
Yeah.
But there were a bunch of them across Tennessee. And so I would get in my car and drive to all the different bargain hunts in like Middle Tennessee and
Wow.
look and see what I could buy. So I'd come back with hauls of like all kinds of random stuff, whatever it was I could buy and flip, I would do it. I even bought, my friends still make fun of me of this to this day, but I would buy like these breast pumps that were in these bargain hunt stores. I'd buy them
Oh
for
my
like
gosh.
$10 and sell them for like 50 on eBay. But that was my first like entrepreneurial venture, and I would say it was successful. I mean, I made some good money from it in high school and early college.
That is hilarious. And like my follow-up question to that was gonna be, did you resell in a specific niche? But I guess not. You answered that.
Yeah,
Just
it was
whatever
whatever.
you could sell, you bought it. That is cool. I know of one other person who was in like the resale space, but they tried to specifically be in a specific niche and it ended up like phasing out and they never, unfortunately, they didn't like optimize it or capitalize on it at all. And
Mhm.
so, um, but it's kind of cool to hear someone who didn't necessarily have a niche, but found success just honestly on the back of Bargain Hunt. Like,
Yeah, shout out to Bargain Hunt.
yeah,
It's
that's super
great.
cool. Okay, so I guess what important lessons did that first venture teach you that you still have today?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question. I think it taught me I would say a few valuable things in that I learned. I mean, that's called what's it called? Retail arbitrage, technically, I think, where you
Right,
just buy
right.
something from a store and then kind of resell it in another marketplace for profit. And
Hmm.
I realized that is what so many businesses are.
Yeah.
Everything that we buy is kind of produced and then upsold to the whoever middleman is and then upsold to the grocery store and then we buy it. And I just kind of figured out how I fit into that. And I feel like you can look at so many businesses across industries in that way. And the second thing I would say is I realized it wasn't super scalable. Like it took a
Mm,
lot of my time to go find these products, and then sometimes they wouldn't sell, and I'd be stuck with
mhm.
just this random junk that I didn't want. But it took me driving around to those bargain hunts and doing all this really manual input, and I could only get so far by myself, I think, in that.
Okay.
Um, so I think those are two important lessons that it taught me.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of people find that in like the resale space that
Hmm.
it's super, super good up to a certain point, but then it can't really scale
Yeah,
past that. Which is great if you like have like a specific purchase in mind. Like, let's say you're literally just reselling to save up for like your first time home buyer loan, then it,
yeah,
it kind of works out great because you have a goal, and it's not necessarily to scale to, $1 million business. Um,
yeah,
but definitely like reselling with like no aim, no goal in mind. It just, you know, it feeds you and it pays the bills, but not much
yeah,
past that.
yeah. It was a great first sort of entry to entrepreneurship. And it also was the first time I'd ever done anything that was, I didn't have a boss. It was just up to me doing this thing,
Yeah.
and it depended on how well I did, how much effort I put into it was kind of equated to how much I got out of it. And it wasn't like
Right.
a boss paying me by the hour, which is all I'd ever worked up until that point. So,
Right. Do you think it helped you like reshape your entrepreneur mindset, or did you already kind of have that mindset going in?
yeah, I mean, I think I already knew to a certain extent that I was interested in entrepreneurship and business, but I think it's that taste of like,
Mm,
when the deposit hits from whenever you just sold something for the first time and you're like, wow, this
yeah.
is it. Like I get it now. I get the drug of business and entrepreneurship. So I think that was the biggest thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, like proof of concept is so powerful. And I
Hmm.
think like uh me and my friend have been talking about like if we are gonna get into like the mentorship space, like literally anyone who enters into your mentorship program, getting them proof of concept as fast as possible
Hmm.
is the most powerful tool because a lot of young entrepreneurs that are just like hitting their head against the wall, they are the first time they get that proof of concept, whether no matter what it is, it literally like gives them honestly steroids, right? Like it literally just
Yeah.
motivates them to the max. But super cool. So moving to today, transitioning to today, do you currently have a mentor? And if so, how monumental were they?
Yeah. I I would say actively, I don't. I'd
Okay.
love to have one. I had one sort of through school, through college. It was an older gentleman who had been still as a business owner, all sorts of, he was into a lot of things, real estate, and he actually owned a bunch of grocery stores. I forget what brand they were. I think it was what was it? Save a Lot, maybe? I think that's a chain in the
Interesting.
South.
Yeah.
But a bunch of Save a Lot grocery stores, super successful. And I'd known him through church, and we had kind of just been around each other. And as I was interested in kind of entrepreneurship when I was coming up in that, which my dad knew him as well, he was like, "Hey, you should ask Mr. David if he'll like go to breakfast or lunch with you and just kind of talk." And so I did that, and we would meet off and on, maybe once a month, every 2 months, uh, throughout when I was in college. And then I moved
Mm,
away, and so we haven't really been able to connect as much. But that was really helpful for me just to have someone much more wise and much older than me and experienced,
yeah.
and who you could say had done what I wanted to do throughout their life in the way that I wanted to do it.
Right.
Um, to kind of have that person pour into me was super valuable.
Yeah, that is extremely valuable. Like I don't even know what the right word is, but like it's almost like a mentor light or like a diet mentor.
Yeah,
I've never had like a full-on mentor someone who's like in the niche that I'm in and
yeah,
pave that way. But I do have a lot of like diet mentors, people that are in a different niche and a different industry, but they're business minded. Um, and they're also just kind of like, extra father figures that also can point you in different directions, whether it be, not just business, right? Like whether it be
Mhm.
relationship advice or just, you know, whether just sometimes it's just masculine advice that you kind of just need. Honestly, just that motivation to just say like, hey, you can do it. Get out there and try, right?
Yeah.
Um, that's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Save a lot, mentor. Very cool.
Yeah, exactly.
So, pivoting to your actual business that you have now, which is social media marketing,
Mhm.
what specific niche do you specifically market to?
Yeah. Honestly, I haven't traditionally had a niche.
Okay.
And there's a big reason for it is because I don't know, have you ever heard of Upwork? It's like a site where you
Yes.
can hire freelancers. Yeah. Started on Upwork when I kind of got into digital marketing. This was 5 or 6 years ago.
Mhm.
And so I started on Upwork. I started doing some small jobs there. And Upwork is any sort of business or anyone can get on there to look for a freelancer to hire for whatever service.
Mhm.
And so I eventually grew my profile, a bunch of reviews, more successful jobs, and it just kind of snowballed. So Upwork has been my number one source of client acquisition. Uh,
Mhm.
and because of that, it's kind of been a mixed bag of,
Mhm.
local businesses, online businesses, coaches, e-commerce stores, and feels like almost everything in between. I'm trying to niche down because, as I was talking about with the eBay selling, it's difficult to scale whenever I can't really systematize my
Yeah.
process because every client I work with, I have to come up with like a new idea or a new strategy that'll fit their specific business. So I'm trying to niche down to where it's kind of the same sort of marketing. All these businesses need the same thing. I just need to kind of plug it in and let it rip. So currently I'm focusing on the auto detailing niche, um, just to kind of get my footing in a niche. And I'd worked with a few detailers and enjoyed it. And so I was like, all right, let's just try and kind of niche down into detailing.
Very cool. Very,
Yeah.
very cool. Do you feel like your time on Upwork, um obviously you were kind of a jack of all trades, being that you had so many mixed bags of jobs. Do
Mhm.
you feel like like a unique confidence going into a specific niche that you learned so many skills from the different jobs that you feel like you have kind of a unique perspective on, marketing for a specific niche?
hmm Yeah, I would say I have the confidence now to like I don't care what kind of business you have, I'll figure out how to market it just because that's what I've had to do
Hmm.
uh to get to where I'm at. And so I think it has made me more well-rounded as a marketer because I've seen and also developed marketing strategies for all these types of businesses that use different strategies and different strategies work well and I can kind of take different things of, if I'm working with a detailer, I could say, "Oh, I worked with a roofer and we did this and I think it could work for you." Or,
Right.
it can kind of, there's a lot of overlap in marketing and I think it's also made me better at understanding, just kind of systematizing it. Because when I meet a new business owner, I'm like, okay, what do you need? Who is your customer? And then it's
Right.
my job to figure out how to make those two meet. So to answer your question, yeah, I think it gave me a huge amount of confidence to be like, I can go into any niche and figure it out.
That is super cool. It's interesting because my father-in-law is a general contractor. He's been a general
Yeah.
contractor for 40 years, and
Wow.
he's done every possible job that you can do in a home,
Yeah.
from like the foundation, well, actually to the excavation to installing the last doorknob. He's done that entire process with his hands.
Mhm.
And he's just one of those like old school, you know, calloused hands type of guys. He's never
Yeah.
been super business minded. But I sometimes look at his life and I'm just like, if you like figured out how to like niche down a little bit, man, like, but also, he likes working with his own hands. He doesn't care to
Mm,
scale at all. But I just always think it's super interesting that people that, work in different spaces and different industries have a unique perspective that if they carry that into a business, um, it really is a unique superpower that they kind of have.
mhm,
And so that's super cool that, like you said, you have done so many different campaigns that now that you're working with one client, you're like, I can go into my bag of tricks and pull something out that you've probably never even considered. So,
mhm.
that's pretty cool. So, next question would be, what are some mistakes you see entrepreneurs making on social media, whether they are marketers or small businesses, and how can they avoid them?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. Um, I feel like most of it, specifically for small businesses and marketers that are helping small businesses, most of the time, which I can't take credit for this, I think I saw a tweet or something that was like, anytime I'm doing marketing, I ask the so what test. And it's like, look at your ad, look at your offer, whatever you're doing, and think if I'm someone who's never heard of this business and I look at your ad, so what? Does it make me
Mm,
feel something of, yeah, I should care about this? Or do I just think, so what? Like I'm just scrolling? Because that's what it is essentially, and that's what we're competing for, are those making people say, okay, yeah, I do care about this. I'm going to click or I'm going to call or I'm going to do whatever we're trying to get them to do with an ad. And a lot of times businesses will just kind of throw up an ad or throw up social media posts that's like, hey, you want your car detailed? Click here to get a quote. And I'm like, so what? If I'm
right,
scrolling and I see like, hey, we're offering this special, it's a 199 detail for the next five people who opt in, then I'm like, oh, okay, like here's the deal. It's limited time. Like I should probably take action on this. Whereas if
right,
it's like get a detailed, click here, it's like, maybe not. And I feel
right.
like that applies to almost all businesses is does your advertising pass the so what test? Um, and a lot of them don't, to be honest.
Yeah, that is super. I've actually never heard that before. A so what
Yeah.
test.
Yeah.
Like that is like such a precise way to kind of get down to the root of what marketers are going up against is
Mhm.
people just going, so what? Like,
Yeah. Well, we get bombarded with ads now. And whether you're looking at billboards or you're in the bathroom and you have all those little posters in front of you when you're using
right.
the restroom, or you're scrolling, whatever it is. Um, and we're more distracted than ever as consumers. We have to make it also needs to be quickly. You need to be able to see something and within a second understand what this is and do I care about it? And that's
Yeah.
our job as marketers is to make sure that they can do that. Um, and a lot of times when you're in the business, when you're the owner or even a marketer working in the business, you understand the business, you understand the value of whatever it is you're doing, but you can also kind of get lost in that understanding that you have because you're so close to it. And you just assume that somebody seeing your ad understands all that value that you already know, but in reality, they don't.
Wow. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense. I think that that is, especially in the trades, I see that a lot. Like
Mm,
that people assume that a layman is gonna see the value in their service.
mm,
Um, like I did work at installing gutters for a while,
mm.
and you would be shocked at how many people don't understand the value of gutters, right? Like,
Yeah.
they genuinely think that like I don't need gutters. It's a luxury, and it's like, no, you need to divert water away from your foundation, you know,
Yeah.
like either buy some new gutters now or replace your entire foundation in a few
Mm,
years. Like you can decide, but like until you explain to them that like if you don't divert this water, it will seep down, into your foundation and crack it. And now you
yeah.
have a basement flood or, But until they actually get explained that value, they're just like, so what? Like my gutters
Yeah.
have a leak. Who cares?
Yeah.
And and then it usually leads to cracked foundation, cracked sidewalks, stained siding, a whole lot of problems. But
Yeah.
very cool. So for some entrepreneurs that are on a limited budget, what are some low cost or free tools that they can leverage to maximize their social media impact?
Yeah. Just YouTube, to be honest. Like I'm a YouTube fiend. I mean, I
Yeah.
just am always like, and it's helped me a lot just because you get so many ideas from what other people are doing. You get inspiration, seeing how they work, and there's so much. There are online courses out there that you can pay for, and the way that I look at those is, which I love online courses too, but
Mhm.
they're basically just a bunch of YouTube videos and someone has just combined them into one thing. But you
Exactly.
can go find all that on your own if you just
Hmm.
look for it enough on YouTube. Um, so I'm a huge YouTube guy. Like if you're getting started, especially just watch, especially some of the like in-depth, like hour-long YouTube videos
Yeah.
that really get into it, specifically, I mean, I'm in Facebook and Instagram ads. Like there's so much you can watch people set up entire campaigns, see
Right.
their results, see their ads, see everything, like they'll show you. So that would be my recommendation.
Yeah, and what's very interesting is sometimes the best tutorials on YouTube are the ones where the guy has like a 480p webcam
Yeah,
and
exactly.
it's like so gritty and his vocals are muffled, but it's such good information. And oftentimes the guy that has the 4K camera and the $500 mic, he's gonna make you pay for that information.
Exactly.
But like the dude who's just like in his basement and just knows a lot, those are some of like the gems that like I have found that really changed, you know, how I see, certain aspects of my business. So,
Yeah, same.
um, I actually agree with that take. YouTube is a great resource. Sometimes you just need to know how to search things. And I think
Yeah.
also, one thing that I will add with like specifically like AI, sometimes people don't know how to take advantage of AI because they don't know how to structure their question properly.
Yeah, that's true.
Like the future, it almost seems with AI taking a lot of creative power away from humans. Our goal as entrepreneurs is how do I phrase this question perfectly,
Mhm.
so that I can actually take advantage of the processing power that this computer has. And it's the same thing
Yeah.
with YouTube. The algorithm is so powerful if you just know how to phrase your question,
Mhm.
it'll give you exactly what you need.
Yeah,
So
yeah. You just got to try a few different, to like word it differently and just kind of keep, like
exactly.
you said. And I normally will even skim through the video, like if it's a long video,
Mhm.
and I'll kind of look and be like, okay, is this like kind of what I had in mind, or see what it's kind of about before I just sit there and watch like the whole thing. But I love YouTube.
Yeah, I agree. It's honestly it's my favorite. Like
Yeah,
I've never been a big TikTok guy.
yeah.
I phase in and out of Instagram, but like YouTube, I always like my wife likes Netflix, but I'm like, babe, we need to watch YouTube right now. Like I prefer
YouTube and chill.
exactly YouTube and show is like my thing, but
Yeah.
she hates YouTube. She's like,
My
I'm
wife's the same way. Yeah. Maybe it's a guy thing. I don't know.
I I yeah, it probably is because even like my father-in-law, he's in his 60s and he loves YouTube.
Yeah.
Like
My dad
he
does too.
yeah, so maybe it's just a guy thing.
Yeah.
Sweet. So we've come to the part of the podcast where we are going to do blitz questions, which means try to keep your answers to 1 minute or less. Try to be as concise as possible.
Okay.
And today we have four questions. One, what is your favorite business book?
Yeah. I'm gonna go the cliche answer and say Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Uh,
That was like my OG. Got
the
me
OG.
started.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the absolute OG. I feel like a lot of people um, say that, but don't let everyone saying that steer you away from the book. Like read
Yeah.
the book. It's like the Bible. Like everyone says the Bible is a great book. you should probably read the book. It's probably a great
Yeah.
book. If it's affected this many people, you should
Yeah.
probably read the book. Rich Dad Poor Dad, I haven't read it in a very long time, and so
Yeah.
it's on my list to reread. I just finished How to Win Friends and Influence People. I
Oh
read
yeah, I've read that. It's
for the
good.
second time. That's
Yeah.
that's my favorite book. Um,
Yeah. That's a great one.
it not only is it just like so insightful, but it also aligns with like my business philosophy.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's also a great one. Uh,
Yeah.
so two, what is your advice to entrepreneurs with shiny object syndrome? Which for everyone listening that doesn't know what that is where you go from drop shipping to eBay to selling t-shirts, and then you are on Temu and you're trying to read like you just literally try to do any niche um that looks good to you at the time, but you don't actually stick with it. So, what is your advice to those people that just, hop from one shiny object to another?
Yeah. Well, I'll be the first to say that I've been guilty of that myself, and I still battle it like a disease, I
Yeah.
guess. As soon as something starts to work, even though it's working great, I'll be like, oh, I could do this business, or I'll see a YouTube video or a tweet and be like, oh, I could do that.
Hmm.
And so definitely guilty of that. But I would say I'm also evidence of when I first started doing digital marketing, like it was slow, it wasn't easy, it was bumpy. It took me a long time to get momentum. And I think it's going to take you mo a long time to get momentum in whatever vertical you choose. And each time you switch, you're just setting that clock back to zero,
Yep.
and you're going to have to pay your dues in whatever it is. And
Yep.
so you need to stay after you've paid your dues, and because that's when the good stuff actually happens, is when you've been in it for 6 months, a year, 2 years, that's when the fruit actually starts to come most of the time.
Yeah.
So that would be my advice, but I'm just as guilty of it as the next guy.
Same, same. And I love how you put that. You have to pay your dues, and if you're in something for 3 months and it's not working, that's not because it's a terrible niche. Clearly, people are making money in that niche, so it's not the
Mm,
niche. It's the fact that you have to get over that, you know,
mm,
paying your dues phase, honestly. Yeah. And then you get
yeah.
momentum and then it works. Very good.
Yep.
I love that answer. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Third, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
5 years. I'd love to have scaled up my business a bit, maybe niched down and was able to scale, and take myself out of the business a little bit. I'm still a one-man show at the moment.
Okay.
I'd love to niche down and kind of hire and help learn how to delegate, I guess. And I've always been, I guess, since my rich dad, poor dad days, fascinated with real estate. My wife
Hmm.
and I own a house, but I'd love to have some other property as investments. And so maybe a scaled marketing agency and a few rental properties under our belt.
That is not a bad place to be. I love it.
Yeah.
All right. So fourth, what is your why? Like, why build a company? Why work as hard as you do? Why stay busy? Why sacrifice?
Yeah. I think it's twofold for me personally. A huge motivation for me is my wife and we don't have kids, but we intend to. And so
Right.
I think it's providing for my family, giving us a life that we enjoy, and, just make sure all of our needs are met. And so I think that's a huge part of it. Is I'd love for my wife to be able to retire if she wants to. Um, so that's a huge thing. And then faith is a big, big part of my life. And I feel like faith plays a role in um, my career and my entrepreneurship. And so we were talking about it before, but I feel led to kind of help. I love helping people when I can. And I feel like entrepreneurship is a great way to, you know, earn income, but then also be in control of where that's directed.
Absolutely.
And so I'd love to be able to help people and give to things that I feel passionate about that are helping people.
Yeah,
So I'd say that's kind of my twofold why.
that is awesome. That is literally my two eyes. So
Yeah.
I resonate with that extremely heavy. And with that, that is the end of the podcast. So where can people find you if they, want some marketing advice?
Yeah, yeah. I'm on Upwork. You can normally search me on there, as I said. On Instagram, I'm Jacob underscore Reeves underscore. Those are probably the best two places to find me.
Okay, Upwork and Instagram. Great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on to the show. Love the interview, and yeah, have a blessed day.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right.